What's cracking, everyone? My name is Ryan, and today I want to talk to you guys about the TKZK Ouranos. Now, TKZK is said to be a subsidiary of Tin Hi-Fi, which is something I found out doing some research on their name. And am I the only one that sees the name TKZK and instantly thinks of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? No? All right. Now, before I get into this, I do want to send a special thank you out to Linsol for sending these out to me for review. Now, I do get to keep these, however, all thoughts and opinions are of my own. So the Ouranos are a $55 dynamic driver IEM, and I want to take a minute to talk about what you get inside the box because I actually do like the packaging that you get. Now, first of all, you're going to get this packaging. It's going to be in this white casing here, if that focuses in. You're going to take off the casing and you get this black jewelry box that has the TKZK logo on here. And then as soon as you take that lid off, you're going to see the IEMs in a foam insert. Now, this is a nice little showcase way to show off the IEMs. You take out the foam insert, and then inside of that, you're going to see another little basic box that contains the ear tips and the cable. Now, these are your basic run-of-the-mill ear tips. You know, you do get different sizes, so you'll find the right fit, but there's nothing special to note about those. And you also do not get any foam tips. The cable, however, I do want to recognize because it is a pretty nice cable, especially for this price. It doesn't kink up or anything like that. I mean, there's times for kinky, don't get me wrong, just not with our cables. And then lastly, I do want to recognize also the pouch that you get with this as well. Again, I don't know if that's going to focus in or not, but it is a nice cotton velour type pouch that does say TKZK. I always appreciate when I can get a pouch to put my IEMs in. Now, technical wise, the earphones are a 10 millimeter dynamic driver. They are 32 ohms and have a sensitivity of 110 dB per milliwatt. Now, there is a high-performance new generation CNT, which is a carbon nanotube diaphragm coil that they use for the driver. Lastly, for build and comfort, I actually really like the build of this IEM, especially for $55. Now, it's got a nice glossy finish on the very hard plastic that these are made out of. And actually, you know, it doesn't pick up that well on video, but I can tell you that in person, I was pretty impressed when I took these out and was met by that showcase that you're seeing right here. And it just looks really good. And then comfort-wise, I'm not somebody that wears a lot of IEMs, to be honest. I wear a lot of headphones, so IEMs always take me a little bit to get used to. When I first put these in with the tips that came on them, I did have some discomfort. I actually had a headache after the first couple of hours listening, but I switched out tips. I actually went back to the same size, just a different color tip, and comfort was perfectly fine, and ever since then I've been fine. One thing I will note is one of the IEMs, and I couldn't tell you if it was left or right, was a little bit sharp around one of the edges. Not sharp like cut yourself, but pokey enough, I guess, that I actually felt it on my ear at one point. But again, I've settled in with these. These are perfectly fine now, and so nothing wrong with the build and comfort. All right, so I want to cut right to the chase when I talk about sound and just tell you guys that this is a very balanced frequency response that comes right out of this IEM, and I was very happy for that. Now, if there's anything I would say that has a bit of an elevation, it is on the low end, probably somewhere in the mid bass to upper bass. You are going to get some elevation, so you're going to get a little more, slam out of that bass. And by the way, speaking of slam, this also has punch and slam. Always a fan. If I can get that out of anything, you get that out of these. It's got some good dynamics to it. And the fact that it does make some music just more musical and gives it more energy. Things like rock and metal and that kind of stuff that I like to listen to, hip hop, this attributes to that very well. But then also I do enjoy vocal focused music, and vocalists sound really good in this too. It's not pushed forward. It's not pulled back. It is just balanced very well in that a vocalist is going to be heard very well on this. And then going into the upper end and the treble region, I would say this is definitely not anything that's stabby. It's not sharp. It's not spicy. It's not sibilant. It's not dark tuned by any means. So it is a nice balance into the treble region as well. And so far, so damn good, right? Right. So then one thing I would say a little bit against this, and that is the soundstage. Now, I know if you listen to a lot of IEMs, you're probably going to be used to that. Me personally, I don't own a lot of IEMs, and I do enjoy some stage. These don't really have a lot of it. It's not claustrophobic or anything by any means. It just doesn't expand out very far. And that's no surprise. A lot of IEMs are kind of like that, and I get that. And then also imaging, I think, is actually really good. It's not spot on or just like laser focused imaging, but it's good enough to be good and good enough for me to where I think, those two things aren't necessarily a negative, just something to note about this IEM. Now, one thing I will say furthermore about Stage is IEMs are really starting to get into the gaming space. Gamers like the fact that they can just put things on and off. You're wearing a hat, something like that. You don't have to worry about headphone and hair or whatever. Well, IEM's getting into the gaming space. I can't wait to see if they can start expanding on soundstage, because they're going to be kings in that category if they can start doing that. So that's a whole topic for another video. So let's move on. All right. So when it comes to like transients and resolution, I think that's where the budget part of this starts to show up. These aren't highly resolving or detailed. So just know that as well. Still, I think I would trade that off for the fact that the frequency response is done so well for a budget IEM. I mean, it's about the music first and foremost anyway, and those other things are like the extra icing on the cake, at least to me. So I was okay with that trade-off. The other thing, though, I would note is when you do turn these up to higher volumes, which I personally don't like to listen super loud, at least definitely not for long periods of time, that's when I noticed probably the capabilities of the driver falling behind a little bit, because at higher volumes, I started to notice some, maybe some muddiness or some bloated bass or a little bit of fuzziness in the vocalist, things like that sound just a little bit off. Now, I'm a little bit spoiled in the fact that I could drive these off of my ADI 2 DAC. If anybody knows about that amp DAC, they know they are done very well with IEMs or paired very well with IEMs. But I still, ran this off of my phone, off my laptop, off my Go Bar, the Uno I just reviewed, and, they sound good on all of that. It's just the volume play is not going to be as much out of certain amps or something out of a phone, and so you're going to hit that volume peak sooner. So just be wary about that. So overall, I am very pleased with the TKZK Ouranos. And it's interesting because I just said that about the SoundNote Zero. In fact, I said the SoundNote Zero was probably the king of that $20 IEM range. These very well could be the same for that $50 IEM range. And then what's interesting is the nfity T3 Plus. I also thought that about those for the $70 IEM range that they are in, which basically tells you that the budget IEM space is becoming extremely competitive, really, really good sounding, and exciting for all of us as consumers. All right. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If so, please smash that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel, because I've got some pretty steady content that I'm getting out to you guys. Again, I would like to thank Linsol for sending this out for review. I'm going to let you guys get back to doing whatever it is that you do. I am going to figure out a way to showcase my collection of IEMs. I think that's a question for Twitter. All right, guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.